Since unto him. Mukam karoti vachalam pangu parokshir hayaneriha varam muhurtam vidhim gahatate shriyas yata. Do you want to go one line each?
Kim pramatasya bahubihi
Kim pramatasya bahubihi parokshir hayaneriha varam muhurtam vidham gahatate shriyas yata. Kim paramasya bahubihi parokshir hayaneriha varam muhurtam vidhitam ghatate shriyase yatah. Kim paramasya bahubihi parokshir hayaneriha varam muhurtam vidhitam ghatate shriyase yatah.
Kim paramatasya bahubihi
Kim paramasya bahubihi parokshir hayaneriha varam muhurtam vidhitam ghatate shriyase yatah. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Kim, what is? Pramatasya, of the bewildered. Bahubi, by many. Paroksha, inexperienced. Hayahi, ears. Iha, in this world. Varam, better. Muhurtam, a moment. Viditam, consciousness. Ghatate, one can strive for. Shriyase, in the matter of the supreme interest. Yata, by that. Translation. What is the value of a prolonged life which is wasted, inexperienced by years in this world? Better a moment of full consciousness, because that gives one a start in searching after his supreme interest. Purport. Srila Sukadeva Goswami instructed Maharaj Parikshit about the importance of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord by every progressive gentleman. In order to encourage the king, who had only 7 remaining days of life, Srila Sukadeva Goswami asserted that there is no use in living hundreds of years without any knowledge of the problem of life. Better to live for a moment with full consciousness of the supreme interest to be fulfilled. The supreme interest of life is eternal, with full knowledge and bliss. Those who are bewildered by the external features of the material world and are engaged in the animal propensities of the eat, drink, and be merry type of life are simply wasting their life by the unseen passing away of valuable years. We should know in perfect consciousness that human life is bestowed upon the conditioned soul to achieve spiritual success, and the earliest possible procedure to attain this end is to chant the holy names of the Lord. In the previous verse, we have discussed this point to a certain extent, and we may further be enlightened on the different types of offenses committed onto the feet of the holy name. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhu has quoted many passages from authentic scriptures and has ably supported the statement in the matter of offenses at the feet of the holy name. From Vishnu Yamuna Tantra, Shira Jiva Goswami has proven that one can be liberated from the effects of all sins simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Quoting from the Markandeya Purana, Sri Goswami ji says that one should never blaspheme the devotees of the Lord nor indulge in hearing others who are engaged in belittling a devotee of the Lord. A devotee should try to restrict the vilifier by cutting out his tongue, and in being unable to do so, one should commit suicide rather than hearing the blaspheming of the devotee of the Lord. The conclusion is that one should neither hear nor allow vilification of a devotee of the Lord. As far as the distinguishing the Lord's holy name from the names of the demigods, the revealed scripture discloses, Bhagavad Gita 10:41, that all extraordinary powerful beings are but parts and parcels of the supreme energetic Lord Krishna. Exert from the Lord Himself, everyone is subordinate. Except for the Lord Himself, everyone is subordinate. No one is independent from the Lord. Since no one is more powerful than or equal to the energy of the Supreme Lord, no one's name can be as powerful as that of the Lord. By chanting the Lord's holy name, one can derive all the stipulated energy synchronized from all sources. Therefore, one should not equalize the holy name of the Lord with any other name. Brahma, Shiva, or any other powerful god can never be equal to the Supreme Lord Vishnu. The powerful holy name of the Lord can certainly deliver one from sinful effects, but one who desires to utilize this transcendental potency of the holy name of the Lord is one's sinister activity, is the most degraded person in the world. Such persons are never excused by the Lord or by any agent of the Lord. One should therefore utilize one's life in glorifying the Lord by all means, without any offenses. Such activities of life, even for a moment, is never to be compared to a prolonged life of ignorance, like the lives of the trees and other living entities who may live for thousands of years without prosecuting spiritual advancement. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So let's just, before we get into the actual thing, let's just understand the background, right? I know everybody has been reading Bhagavatam, has been following along, but it's important for us to understand in the context of this what's happening. And for that, I'm going to jump to the last few verses from the Canto 1, which is 37 and 38 of the chapter 19, right? So Parikshit Maharaj, he's been cursed and he knows that he has only 7 days to live, right? Now in that position, he's made an inquiry. And that is what 37 and 38 verses talk about. He says, "You are the spiritual master of all great saints and the devotees. I am therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons, and especially the one who is about to die." And we all are about to die sooner or later, so it all applies to us. "Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should and should not do. Please explain all this to me." Now, the reason why we also switched back quickly to the first canto, the end of it, was the fact that it shows us a particular difference here, right? Let's just see what happens in around our life. And the reason why I always keep going back to what do we do in our day-to-day lives is because, one, we need to introspect of what are we doing in comparison to these great Vaishnavas and Acharyas that we read about in the Bhagavatam. And it is also kind of in a way that this material world, what is the limitation and what's the bondage that it creates, right? So let's understand this. What do we see in a common environment around us when somebody has been communicated that you are terminally ill or something and you're going to die? Has anybody had an experience of ever talking to somebody who's terminally ill? Yeah, you have? So what is the stage? What is the life? What's the cycle of this looks like for all of these people? Do they immediately say, okay, fine? or do they go through a cycle? There is a cycle of emotion, right? The very first thing that would happen in any such will be they will be scared. Oh, I'm going to die. And they will be in disbelief. No, how can this happen to me? I was never smoking, I was never drinking. How can I have cancer? And all the different reasonings keeps going on in our mind. And that becomes the focus at that moment of time is, this cannot happen to me. This cannot be true. I did not do anything wrong. What wrong did I do to somebody else that this is what is the reaction coming to me? Why am I dying? This denial is the first stage for anybody who receives the information that they are going to die. Then they try and escape death in whatever they feel is they are incapable of. They will try and go and find a doctor who can help them. Say, let's me do a research and find out what are the different type of cures that exist. How is that I can control my illness? They can even go to the extent of trying to find some mystic person out there, some guru, some baba who claims that they can help them avoid this death that they want to try and avoid. That is where they will try and say, okay, take my money, take whatever I have, just let me live. All this is the struggle that a person goes through as soon as they hear that they're going to die. But it is only a matter of time that they start realizing that death is inevitable. It is coming. And then they come to the point of accepting it and realizing, yes, death is going to come. That's what we see mostly. Even at this time, when that acceptance of death comes in, such people in general, when we see, will not be moving into the what we are seeing over here as Parikshit Maharaj doing, but would rather start going into the argument and debate like, once I'm gone, what is going to happen to my family? How do I make sure that they are going to be okay even without me? How is that I can make sure that they know all the accounts that I have and they can transfer that money out easily? Is that not how we have those conversations? Right? For anybody whose parents are going into that senior stage, that's the kind of conversation they start doing with you. Right? So they're now at that moment where they've accepted that death is coming and now they're trying to prepare for death, but prepare for death in terms of what? My family should be okay. If my body cannot stay, my extended body should stay comfortably. Right? And then finally, they would say, okay, I cannot do all of this. At least let me leave behind a legacy. How is that people will remember me? So they will start becoming philanthropic. Let me give out money. Let me build charity under my name. Let me do this. Let me give out money everywhere. Oh, you take money, you take money, you take money. Taking care of everybody. Trying to be the most lovable person around so that people remember that person as being lovable. Doing all of these only so that they can be remembered. If they cannot remain in their body, they can remain in the terms of memories. The whole idea of all of the common mentality, if you see, is the want for existence. I exist either in the form of my body or my extended body or in terms of memories, but I need to exist. That's eternally what is within our heart. Let's see on the other hand what is happening. If you were the one who came to know that somebody whom you know is now terminally ill, and you know they're going to die very soon, what is your reaction going to be? It's going to be similar, right? You would try and first you'll first be in shock, obviously, in disbelief again, like, oh, such a young person, how can he die? I've known this person for so long. Oh, it was only yesterday that we were playing together. We kind of come with those statements, right? And in that, the person is going to go and start offering suggestions. You know what? You should try all the herbal medicines. You should try yoga. You should try this. You should try that. We're giving all of these suggestions out with the intent to try and help them prolong their life. That's our attitude. Even if we are not the person on the side of receiving the information that we are going to die, we still go through a similar cycle of it. And we're trying to do all of these things with the thought that we're going to help them. But do we actually help them? Both in terms of not just by saying, are we able to prolong their life? No. Are we even supporting them emotionally? Imagine a person who knows he's going to die. He's gone through the full cycle of from denial to acceptance, and now we are trying to brainstorm with them again how they can prolong their life and not avoid death. So if that is the kind of emotion we are making them go through again, are we actually helping them? We're taking them back to from where the journey they have come in. So this is the lack of intelligence where we can see that not just the person who receives the information about death, but the person who is with them, both of them lack information about how to best help. Please.
There are some situations where someone offers their service
Yeah.
to the person who's passing.
Yes.
So whatever it is they need, whether they know it or they don't know it, they just present themselves. They leave everything behind.
Yeah.
And just
Absolutely. Thank you very much. That's a good point, right? So they will try and help out and serve in whatever ways they are, again to try and comfort the body to whatever extent. Yes, we also have Vaishnava care, which falls in a different bucket. We're not talking about those. We're talking about in general common people. But yes, so in each of these cases, what we are trying to do is we're trying to help the person get to accept death. And finally, again, when we who are trying to offer help will also come to the point of acceptance, yes, this person is going to die. So what do we give as a suggestion? We say, live every moment, don't die every moment. Go live your life to the fullest. Do whatever you felt like doing, do that. And be contented that you did what you wanted to do. Live your life every moment. That's the kind of suggestions we give. But these are all because, as we said, the basic knowledge, the Tattva Jnana does not exist. That knowledge about spiritual and material, that knowledge about body and soul does not exist. So we don't have an understanding of the problem statement itself. So we are trying to solve that. These verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam are very helpful for us to understand what is the right perspective in which we are supposed to be approaching this as a problem statement. So let's look at this. A Vaishnava is somebody who knows that the body is temporary and the soul is the one which is actually permanent. And they know death is inevitable. It is going to come no matter what. And they also understand that the perfection of life is to attain pure love of Lord, of Krishna, and serve Him. So now they understand that, you have their perspective completely changes. The body is anyways temporary, it has to go. What is that the soul is supposed to be doing? The dying person will inquire about that. The well-wisher with the dying person is going to help them achieve that. So that is what we see over here, is Parikshit Maharaj makes the inquiry about what is the duty of a person who is dying. He does not talk about, oh dear, you're so intelligent. Tell me all the Ayurvedic remedies in order to try and rectify my situation. Or in this case, you're so powerful, you can undo the curse that was given to me. Can you please do that? He does not ask for any of such things. Right? That is the way that they're taking. Now, every person has different opinions, but if we know that death is coming, it is kind of a reminder for us. Right? In these cases, Parikshit Maharaj immediately turned and said, let me absorb myself completely in trying to see how is that I can achieve the objective of human form of life. But if we look at it, and we will look together as we go along, is the entire life is that reminder that death is going to come in. So every moment of our life is actually what Parikshit Maharaj is feeling, and a reaction needs to be. On the other hand, we talked about a great acharya is they're not trying to superficially console a person and kind of give them the false belief that it's all going to be okay. But on the other hand, they're the ones who are directing and helping them out reach to that particular destination. Right? Such a question, if we see the first verse itself from this chapter of the first chapter of second canto, we can clearly say Sukadev Goswami is actually appreciating such inquiry. He's very clearly saying that such inquiry is what we are supposed to be doing. He says, my dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial to all kinds of us. Because all kind of people, no matter what category we start dividing ourselves into, based on our bodies, everybody is going to die. So this question actually, the answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists. The answer to this question of how do we achieve what we are supposed to be achieving in the life is what is worth hearing, everything else is not. So the reason we went through this journey, which we have already known, is the fact that we need to use these examples and these reading for self-introspection. This process of introspection is, if I am the person who is with somebody who's receiving such grave information like I'm going to die, or they're going through a huge struggle in their life, how do I react? How do I just sit down with them? It's going to be okay, don't worry, it's all Lord's plan. Or am I doing something else to actually help them out? That's the self-introspection that we are supposed to be doing first. It's like, so what happens? The reason is, these subtly show what our consciousness is. Right? And when we see that somebody is facing a difficult situation, they come to you and say, I'm so much troubled in life. Do you start saying, all right, don't worry, do this course, you're going to get a good job that you're trying to find, or something. Do we start giving them these remedies, which is not wrong, but do we with that give them the actual remedy to the problem that exists or not? That shows, do we at every moment of time understand and realize the knowledge that we are reading every morning? Because it's at the moment of test that we realize, do we know the answer or not? Otherwise we keep thinking, I know everything. And Krishna is so merciful. He's so merciful that he keeps giving these mock tests to us before the actual test of death comes in. When you're driving down, say the 401, you're at 100, 110, if you're crazy, even more. And all of a sudden somebody cuts in front of your lane and you had a near collision. What's your reaction at that moment of time? Not the slamming of the brake, but what comes out of your mouth? If that's the case, wonderful. But does the F word come out? That shows our consciousness. These are tiny tests that Krishna keeps giving us. Why do you keep walking and bumping your toe into the tables or hitting your knee somewhere else and getting that anguishing pain? A reminder that the pain of death is going to be 1,000,000 times more than that. And if you're not able to say Hare Krishna at this moment of time, how is that you'll be able to do at that time? So all of this is just a realization for us that what Parikshit Maharaj is doing versus what is that we are doing in the mock tests. So in this way, we have to understand that these are tests. Now, Srila Prabhupada tells this, that the Krishna consciousness is not about one thing or two things. It's a lifestyle. It's how we live our life. It starts from the morning to the end. It associates with everything that we call as part of our life. So it's a lifestyle completely. So at every moment, we are supposed to be Krishna conscious, and there is in every moment the science is given to us to be Krishna conscious. Even when we are walking down the street and we pass by a stinky homeless person, what do we think at that moment of time? How do I avoid the stink and walk around? Or do we think of the different reactions that we can get based on our karmas? Or the different type of bodies we can get into? Right? So that is what the entire life is meant for. It's the preparation for the time of death. And each of them are the mock tests. Now to the subject matter of the verse itself, which is the duration of life. So what is the duration of life meant for? The duration of life is meant for preparations. Keep giving these mock tests till when you get prepared for the final examination. That's all the duration of life is meant for and nothing else. So if that is the case, let's think of this in this way. You're a student and you're a good student. And you've been attending all the classes very nicely, taking up notes, every day coming back home and doing your assignments, going through your notes again, whatever you took in the lecture, doing your self-reads, doing all the practicing of the knowledge that you have got. If you have been doing that regularly, and if someday it's announced tomorrow is the exam or now is the exam, do you need time for preparation? You don't. You're prepared. You're always prepared. You're not scared. There's no problem. He said, what I've been doing at home as the practice sheets and the mock test, that's exactly what I have to do now. There is no difference. On the other hand, if you have been skipping classes, not doing any of the practices, nothing, and when the exam is announced, what would your first reaction be? Oh, I wish I had a little time to prepare, and then I would have done better. That's the most immediate, obvious reaction, right? We used to joke during our days of doing the graduation, like our engineering things, like from next semester onwards, I'm going to start studying from the very beginning. I'm not going to wait till the very end. Every semester, 8 semesters, no, 8 semesters total. And every semester we said the same thing, but we never did it. It was all the last night studies, right? So that shows our mentality, that we are leaving it all towards the end. So if we are sincere, then we would study from the very beginning, continuously keep practicing. Then the duration of time that we have from now between the examination does not matter. So duration of life is the same aspect. If we are being Krishna conscious at every moment of time, if we are practicing what we are being taught at every moment of time, if we are accepting every instruction every moment of time, then the duration of life does not matter. If it is less or it is more, we are always ready for the examination. And so we don't get surprised, right? On the contrary, if we have not been preparing ourselves, then at the time of death, a consciousness is not going to be perfectly situated at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. There is no way we can do that. We are ones who are much, much, much weaker students as compared to, say, for example, Maharaj Bharat. But if he is the one who could get deviated, but I would say he got deviated only to teach us a lesson. But if he can get deviated from his consciousness and have a very different result than what was intended, then what can be said about us? So every moment, that is what we need to be done. And our consciousness then will build up, like the example that has been given in the next verse also over here is of Maharaj Katwangu. Like, when am I going to die? You just have a moment enough left in life. He sits down immediately and starts meditating on the Lord. Because he knows that is what has to be done. He has practiced this all his life. It's just about sitting down and doing it. Right? We have experience of this. Do we? Roll back. The first time you started chanting. How difficult did chanting seem at that moment of time? 16 rounds? Do you know how much amount of time that takes? Now you're chanting regularly 16 rounds. It's become part of your routine. It subconsciously, automatically happens. Right? So that is very good examples. Now, there's very beautiful part of a lecture. I'm forgetting which. I listened to some kirtan, and at the end this quote from Srila Prabhupada keeps coming, and that's why I remember it very nicely. Srila Prabhupada is being asked a question. I said, we are practicing all this Krishna consciousness, everything. How much time will it take for us to go back to Godhead? And even before this question is complete, Srila Prabhupada gives the answer that it is one moment. It's only about one moment that it's going to take us. And then he quotes the verse. And he says that, are you not reading Bhagavad Gita? He kind of chastises in his own loving manner. And are you not reading Bhagavad Gita where it says, Sarva dharma parityajya mama eka sharanadaja aham tvam sarva papevyo. Because the question was, we have done so much of sinful reaction, how much time will it take for us to cleanse all these sinful activities of ours to be able to come to the point of full surrender to Krishna? It says that all you have to do is surrender to Krishna and everything else is going to fall automatically in that place. Now a learned person knows about all of these things. Right, 213. We also know that a learned person is not bewildered by all of those things. They know it. And that is where then the duration of life becomes insignificant if we know this. Then why do we... So when you're going to an elderly person and they bless you, have a good, nice, long life. What is the use of that long life? What is the use of such a blessing if that life is not used for the preparation itself? And I'm going to tell this very beautiful, you guys probably already know this, but Srila Prabhupada talks about this incident, a story. He explains so nicely through stories. He talks about this amazing learned Brahmana who's going around, and then he's meeting different people, and each of them he blesses them differently. Okay, the first person he meets is a prince, the Rajputra. How many of you know about this? The 4 different blessings. Jai, perfect. Jai, Jai. See, so this is where again we see how duration of life can reflect into blessings, right? So, the first person that this learned Brahmana meets is the prince, the Rajputra, and to him says Chiranjeeva. He said, "You live long." And the reason that blessing is given to him, it's going to come that towards the end, but think about it. Why is a king being blessed Chiranjeeva? It's kind of a very common blessing. Then he meets a brahmachari, a very disciplined student who's learned through things very nicely and is practicing that very nicely. The blessing to him is saying, Ma jiva, don't live. That you die immediately. Somebody will think, what kind of a blessing are you giving? Die immediately. Right? But let's come to that in a second. Then he comes and meets a butcher. And the blessing he gives to the butcher is Ma jiva ma mara. Don't live, don't die. And then he meets a devotee, a sadhu. Right? And he says, Jiva va marava. If you decide you want to live or die. Why are these different blessings given? Because the duration of life, the blessing is around the duration of life, but the blessing is based on your preparedness for the exam. The king is the one who's in opulence. He's enjoying materialistic life right now like anything. He's got everything at his disposal. And with that, because he's into that materialistic sense gratification, it is good for him to keep enjoying that materialistic enjoyment right now, because after death, we know what his next destination is going to be. It's going to be miserable, because no Krishna consciousness throughout the life. You have exhausted all your good karmas, now you have to go and start reaping your bad karmas. So he's saying you keep living long, because right now you are enjoying the good karmas. This is a better situation for you than what is coming up in the future. A brahmachari was said, go die immediately, because he is well trained. You are absolutely prepared. You are an expert. You are a straight A student. And now it is okay for you. You are ready to go back to Godhead. Right? You are fully trained. So what's the point of living and continuously suffering in this material world? You die immediately. Because what is coming later is a better situation for you. The butcher was told, don't live, don't die, because when you are living, you're doing such sinful activities, your living is useless. There is no point of you living. And please don't die also, because when you die, you're going to go into the next body based on your karmas, and that's going to be even more miserable. So your living or dying, both are miserable. There is no hope for you right now, until unless you take to the process of Krishna consciousness. Finally, for a devotee, for a Vaishnava, he says, you either live or you die. That makes no difference, because you're completely engaged in the service of the Lord even when you're in this material body. So if you quit, unlike the brahmachari, and even if you quit the body, you go to the Lord and you serve Him over there, you're serving Him over here. It makes no difference if you're serving in the material body, in the material world, in the spiritual world, makes no difference. So you see how our consciousness, our preparedness is what the duration of life is all about. So the duration of life, you have to understand, is not the criteria for our success. The criteria for success is the readiness for the final exam of death. The duration of life is only a proportion in order for you to be coming to that level of preparedness. We say, oh, I hope I don't die immediately. I've still not come to the point of 16 rounds of chanting. I don't know, based on my karmas, where am I going to land up? Will I be able to chant or not? I have an opportunity over Krishna. Please let me live so that I can practice. That's okay. But if that is the intent. But if the intent is, I need to get more wealth, more enjoyment, live every moment of life, then we are deviating from the objective itself. Then a longer duration of life, you keep doing yogas, you keep doing pranayamas, you're going to gym, keep your body healthy, etc., but you're not engaged into the service of the Lord, that duration of life is totally useless, as the verse is pointing us. So what does it mean for us now? What it means is that when we have by the Lord of Mercy, been given a particular duration of life. We don't know how much, but we have been given a duration of life. Now we have to use it. We have to take action in the right manner in order to be prepared for this exam. So, one of the things that Srila Prabhupada in his stories again talks about, very beautiful stories, he talks about this person who throughout his life has been saving some little money and has been going and depositing into the account. Towards the end, during retirement, he goes to the bank and he says, I would like to withdraw my money. What happens then? Does anybody know? Anybody knows his story? No? So Srila Prabhupada says in this story, when this person has been depositing little throughout his lives and towards and during retirement he goes to withdraw, he says, there is no money to withdraw. He said, why? He said, you have been depositing into the wrong account throughout your life. So that is the action we need to make sure that whatever we are doing as an action throughout our life, we have to make sure it is being deposited into the right account. Because if it is into the account associated with the body, it becomes zeros. There is nothing that you are carrying to the next life. But if the deposit is into the account associated to you as a soul on the spiritual level, then it carries forwards. Even if you have reached to a particular amount of success in this life and have not completely achieved the final goal, you will continue. That is very clearly been mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, right? So depositing it into the right account is important. What aspect of this deposit is needed? What's the currency that we deposit in? Punya. Punya will only take you to good lifestyle, like the king. You will exhaust it and finish, you will die. Nothing, gone, finish. That is the wrong account. What else are we supposed to be depositing in? Harinam, yes, the purport talks about. I will say there is one more thing, like Harinam, service to the Lord, all of these things are correct, but it all starts with something very basic, which is Vaishnava Sangha. Because till when we are not in the right association, then all the other things that we are saying is the right account in which things has to be deposited, we will not be able to do it. Because we are so weak within. Even if we agree to that or not, we are so weak within, we cannot do it without help from our friends. Lama matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. See, again, only a moment is required, even through this method, that good association with the Vaishnavas, again, immediately leads us to the perfection. Sarva siddhi hoy. So, what is that we are supposed to be doing now? We are supposed to be doing two aspects of things. We have two responsibilities here. One, to give association. Two, to take association. And that's where the science comes in. Where to give, where to take. We keep talking about balance of between material life, spiritual life. Oh, I have to go to office also, but I have to be Krishna conscious and I have to do this also and I have to do that also. That's where this basic science comes in. That both has to be done. We need to know what our level is, what is the level of the other person. We know about the definitions that comes in about Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttama Adhikari. We need to know where we are. For anybody who is senior than us, clearly, visibly more advanced in Krishna consciousness than we are, we take association from them. What does that mean? They are the ones who speak, we listen. They are the ones who are performing actions, we follow them. We humbly, submissively stand in front of them and follow their instructions. On the other hand, we have a certain level of Krishna consciousness. It's not zero. We have certain level of Krishna consciousness. When we are meeting with people with less or no Krishna consciousness, that is where we are supposed to be giving association. So that giving of association would mean is not letting them let you talk about materialistic topics, but how expertly can you deviate that topic and come into Krishna consciousness? How with your presence people automatically say, I think he's here, let's talk of something nice and clean and not dirty. There are many examples. Which is the devotee who said this? There's some, I'm forgetting, in some lecture I heard this, some devotee was talking that they were traveling and they were in a flight. And the passenger next to him made a very loud remark with the side. Said, Now he's here, I cannot eat meat and I cannot do anything else. That's association. Just by association, he's saying, I'm not going to do this with him, I cannot do it. How strong is your Krishna consciousness shows with what people around you would do. How strong is your association? Let me give a very quick example on this. I was driving my Guru Maharaj and my Guru Mata. Okay, a lot of these learnings come to me during this time. So when I'm driving them, my mother calls up, and I disconnect the call that I'll call you back in half an hour. I'm just dropping them up, and I'll call you back. But she does not understand at this moment that it was network issue or what happened. She calls again. So I decide to take up the call on the car's speaker. And my Guru Mata is sitting next to me. And she says, how are you? And all of those stuff. And I said, I'm right now in service of Gurudev and Guru Mata. I'm driving them. I'm going to be dropping them and doing this and this. So in approximately half an hour, I can give you a call back. And then my mother, who has met Gurudev and Guru Mata and has had their association, she automatically says, please give my obeisances, my respects to Guru Mataji. And Guru Mata automatically jumps into the conversation because she's listening, and she says, Hare Krishna. I said, oh Guru Mata, you're there listening. And she says, how are you? Is that not the first very obvious question that happens, right? How are you? And what is the answer? We can say, oh, I'm good, or I'm having health issues. But look at the expertise of these great acharyas. She says, everything is good till when I'm engaged in the service of Krishna. Are you engaged in the service of Krishna? See how the topic has been changed. That is giving association. How much of Krishna you have, only a tad extent of Krishna that you can give. So take Krishna from where Krishna exists and give Krishna where it does not exist. That is what we are supposed to be doing. But there is a caveat here. That is what Srila Prabhupada very strongly mentioned in the purport. That caveat here is two aspects of things. I'm going to talk about the root cause of it and then understand. We are not supposed to be getting puffed up with all these false designations that I have been in ISKCON for longer than you have been. I'm senior. What do you mean? I live in the temple. You don't even come to the temple. My hours in the temple is greater than you. I'm senior. How many books have you read? How many times have you read? We come up with different criteria, and on the basis of that we talk about seniority and stuff. Let's not do that, because that leads to Vaishnava aparad. And these aparad is what Srila Prabhupada is very strongly warning us against. That yes, you're supposed to be doing all of those things. The duration of life, which is the subject for today, again, meaningless if you use that entire life for either not taking actions or taking actions and nullifying that with aparadha. Either Nama aparadha or Vaishnava aparadha, or there are so many different types of aparadha. Nectar of devotion is the full treasure to understand. Let's not do that, because these aparadha are like, again, very nice story from Srila Prabhupada. He talks about this set of people who were engaged in a wedding ceremony, like for those who know, going for a barat, right? So they have to go to for the wedding ceremony to happen across the river. And before that, they have been partying hard, drinking hard, going crazy. You've seen that. So now they go and sit in the boat to go across for the wedding ceremonies to happen. They're rowing. All night has passed. In the morning, they're still on the same side of the river. Why? They never took out the anchor. So we can keep doing our action. The duration of life, you might have 100 years of life. Wonderful. You might be rowing all your life, but if the anchor of Vaishnava aparadhas, all of these aparadhas, Nama aparadhas, have not been removed, there is no progress that happens. So that's the warning that is being given over here. So everything equates to a very simple understanding that we have to use this knowledge, we have to use the sanghas, we have to use the duration of life, which can be done in a particular moment only, is to come to the realization and understanding about the position of Krishna and what we are supposed to do in that surrender. My final point to explain and understand what surrender means is this. Surrender does not mean just superficially doing things. It is within your heart what is that it means. What is that your belief is? What is the consciousness with which you are doing the things? You might be sitting in the kitchen all day and doing service, but you're doing it with the thought that people are going to praise my cooking, or is it that I'm cooking it for the pleasure of the Lord? That consciousness within the heart is very important. Superficially, there's a very beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita, action in inaction, in inaction in action. Not going into that, but there's a story again, where Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains what is the difference that this consciousness actually causes. It's not just the action, right? Srila Prabhupada talks about this story about Narada Muni. So Narada Muni, he keeps traveling here and then giving association very nicely. He goes and meets a Brahmana. And the Brahmana asks, he said, dear Narada Muni, you keep meeting the Lord again and again. Can you please ask one question? He says, what's the question? He says, when am I going to reach to him? When am I going to reach the Vaikuntha planets? When am I going to get rid of this materialistic life? He said, okay, I will ask. He continues his journey and he meets a cobbler. Asks the same question. He continues his journey, goes back to Krishna, and he conveys these questions from these two to Krishna. And what does Krishna respond? He says, the Brahmana is going to take lots and lots and lots of lives before he comes to the point of coming to me. And what about the cobbler? Oh, as soon as he leaves this body, he is coming to me. Narada Muni did not understand. He said, if you want to understand why is this going to be, when you go back to them and they ask you what is that Krishna was doing, tell them the answer that Krishna was putting in an elephant through the eye of a needle. Okay. He goes back to the Brahmana. The Brahmana says, what was Krishna doing? Did you ask my question? And he says he was sewing the elephant to the needle, or to the eye of the needle. He's like, what? Are you kidding me? That's not possible. You're crazy. The eye of a needle is so small, elephant is so big. How is that it's even possible? I don't believe you. You're lying. Gives the same answer to the cobbler who starts crying with emotion. He says, oh, the Lord is so amazing. Why does he say, like when Narada Muni asks, like, why is that you're believing in it? He says, look at all of these plants, all of these trees, and every fruit that exists has seeds. And within that seed, the Lord has so many different trees in there. He can do anything he wants to. What are you talking about doing this? He can do much more than this. Right? So that is the amount of surrender and belief. That is Shraddha, the faith that we are supposed to be building in. That is what is the objective of life. Duration of life is not significant. It's understanding and coming to the point of this understanding and surrender. That is what matters. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Quickly, any questions or comment before we wrap up? Anybody? Nice. Beautiful. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for the wonderful class. Bro, can you elaborate on more that you mentioned that Krishna consciousness is a lifestyle? It's not about one or more thing.
So when we talk about be Krishna conscious, we start putting bullet points. Do your chanting, do your follow the regulative principles, read Shastras. We put bullet points. And if we are doing that ways, then we say, okay, I did my 2 minutes reading today, done. I did my 1 round of chanting, done. And so always saying I'm being Krishna conscious. But Krishna conscious is being in the consciousness of Krishna at every moment, time, place and circumstance. Irrespective of that. That is why it's a lifestyle. Whatever action you are doing at every time, place and circumstances needs to be for Krishna's pleasure as per his instructions. You are sleeping, you sleep how a Krishna conscious person is supposed to think. You're eating, you're doing whatever you're doing. Even if you're driving, no matter what, every time, place and circumstances, you can be Krishna conscious. And that's why it's a lifestyle. If you see what you were doing before you came to this process, what was your daily routine like and what is it now? You changed your lifestyle completely. And that change has to continue. It's just not that we've crossed a particular line and we're good. No, that change has to continue. That is why it's a lifestyle. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes, Rup.
Yes, thank you so much for wonderful class. I have a comment to make. I like
Yes.
a couple of points. Some of them were when you shared about that we want to live forever through our family members or in someone's mind. So it goes subtler and subtle ways. The want of to live forever.
Thank you. See, the reason why we have that consciousness is because we are eternal. We are eternal souls. So that is why we want to live. We don't want to die. Okay, one final. Anybody? Did you have something? No? All right. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.